4 police officials in Southern California have been arrested after they were accused of being brutal to kids at a boot camp. In fact, they are accused of beating the kids at a boot camp, which isn't very different from what cops are doing throughout the country with adults. Anyway, let me give you the details on this. The 4 were drill instructors at a week-long boot camp for troubled youth that was held in May at the National Guard base. Now, what did they do exactly? According to reports, after the most recent camp, parents said their children reported being slapped, kicked, stomped, and beaten bloody at times. One boy returned home with a fractured hand. Also, the injuries included bruising to the face, bruised ribs, and a lot of abrasions. So obviously there needs to be an investigation into this, and that's what the police department is doing. And I actually applaud them for listening to the concerns of the parents and getting these 4 officials arrested. They haven't been fired yet. They are suspended, and it's pending an investigation, so we'll see how this all turns out. But if kids are coming home with broken bones, it does not bode well for their policing careers.
Yeah, and I like, look what happened. I don't know who, I'm still struck by every time a police officer now has testified against another police officer, and we're seeing, just slightly a couple more examples of that, because, I got a couple friends who are journalists who work closely with cops and have been largely cop defenders, because the job is scary and terrifying and you have to take control. And significantly, a couple of these guys in the last 2 years has changed them. And they're like, I don't know what these guys are doing. Mm-hmm. And, we did that story in Phoenix or in somewhere in Arizona where the cop came in and frisked the woman who was answered in her bathrobe or in the towel and took the towel off. Yes. And was like, why aren't you wearing anything under your... Because I just got out of the shower and I don't put clothes on and then a towel, jackass. And the other cop went back to the station, and I presume the other cop played in a role in calming the situation, because then they went back to the station and he said, look, Larry couldn't have handled that worse, and the guy quit. Mm-hmm. Like, it makes a difference. And, it goes back to what I think was a fairly normal reaction of thousands and thousands of Americans who witnessed the Rodney King beating and thought, isn't one of those guys going to go, hey, he's cuffed and on the ground? Like, where is the normal person who goes, I got it, we hit him once. Yeah. Like, let's put him in the car. Now we wrapped up, let's go get a donut, Yeah. And there just isn't enough of that. And I'm curious whether that was here. I like to see these guys arrested because it appears they committed a crime. Yeah, it feels good when you come across police officials that actually take charge when someone in their unit is doing something wrong. And so when we have these debates about police officials and we say, oh, there are a lot of bad cops out there, people get upset. But the reason why is because you have those who are committing the brutality, and then on top of that, you have those behind the scenes who are supporting them, and they refuse to speak out against them. There's something to the mentality, because it happens in the military too. There's something about the mentality of when you are comrades, you are brothers in arms, brothers and sisters in arms and you're putting yourself in harm's way, and every day you, at least in your head, set up an us against them situation. And simultaneously, whether you like it or not, the reality is, I think, undeniable that because of the savagery with which cops deal with on a regular basis, and because of the vitriol that they hear from many of the people they investigate, we're not going to pretend like on a regular basis you aren't hearing crap day in and day out. Then the result is that they take on an us versus them mentality, and they diminish the worthiness. You talk about that expression, Black Lives Matter. I think that the investigated, whether it's black, brown, or white, but the poor, the downtrodden, the lives that police live their lives in, they don't matter as much. We're better than. And if those guys have to suffer a little bit because we're risking our lives, then so be it. I think that mentality takes hold. But when you're with, again, brothers and sisters in arms, there is clearly some reflex to just defend, that you stand with these guys no matter what. Because otherwise, otherwise 80% of the force are represented by people who are inhuman. And I flat out don't believe that. Mm-hmm. So there is something to that psychology that keeps, I think, good people from saying, what are you doing? Yep. And somehow we need to figure out a way to break that psychology to get more cops to do what happened in Arizona, which is to go, that guy nearly cost somebody their lives over nothing, right, and he's not fit to serve as a police officer, because in the long run, of course, that's going to help every other cop who is fit to serve.